Wappelville, and I suppose welcome back to Lustria here. We've got one of these classic Mierce Miniatures type of things where you've got a monster riding a monster. Now it's not attached to the base yet so that we can get to the underside of that, but we'll call this the Kimono dragon, not Comodo dragon. We're just going to have some fun with that all night long, probably drive people absolutely nuts with that. Here is the guy that's riding him. Of course, I've forgotten the other piece that belongs on the back of him. That's around here somewhere. I think I just found it. We didn't actually get a chance to... Nope, we didn't actually get a chance to primer that yet. Doesn't really matter because I don't know if we'll get a chance to work on that because obviously it's very difficult to get him on there with this on there. So we'll just leave that off to the side, see if we actually can get to that. We have sort of our usual stuff here on the palette. We're going to be going over this lots of times. Opaque alley's pretty much the same. You got your white, you got your brilliant yellow pale, regular cadmium yellow light. That is your diet cadmium yellow deep. You got your, well, that's not Terra Rosa. That's still that French Indian red. I just had some of it left over from the latest video, so there it is. We got Fanchon red sitting over here. You got your asphaltum over there. This is pretty much the same as always. Van Dyke brown, indigo. Actually, Umber's going to go in there later. We got our black spinel, and actually this is the other the other Van Dyke brown. This is the stuff from Williamsburg. We do have some Indian yellow down in the corner because we've got some gold type stuff we want to be working on, right, Armored Wolf? And then down here is your cool 3 and your cool alley here. You got your phthalo green, you got Perline black, aka super dark green, and Prussian blue. Again, we might add some other things that as we go along, but there you have it. So Armored Wolf, I'm glad that you were able to get some things done today. Today was cleaning fans, because one of the reasons why things were just getting so toasty here is that none of the ceiling fans were on. So is it any wonder why the cooler air was just kind of getting stifled in place? So it's already made a difference. Hopefully that helps for the rest of the time too. Now, this is going to be sort of a color like that. You can see there's going to be some reds and some umbers as we got Queez in here for Friday Fun Day. Wait, where is he? Where is he? Here's is it a Friday Fun Day for a fun guy? He's like, I'm a fun guy, and it's Friday, and it's a fun day. See, I'm getting so close to the camera, it gets all out of focus. How sweet is that? So, yeah, we'll be having some fun here, hopefully working on this crazy monster right here. Hey, Brander, how you doing? Nice to see you again. Might do, not sure if we're doing gold on his. I think I might just stick with that because we've been doing that kind of gold / bronze right there. We got Nixel in the house too. So Nixel, I hope that you're doing well. Here, what we're going to do is actually going to pop this off of here. And we're just going to hit this with our makeup sponges. I wanted that to have a little time to set on there. And of course the Kroxigor is going to have to be greenish because, well, that's what all of them are. It's a commission thing. You do what you got to do, right? When it's a commission thing. So all I'm trying to do is just wipe some of that away. We'll get him back on here again, hopefully. I might just glue these things on, actually. So we might just be doing that. Here, don't mind me while I do that thing. As we got Ragnarok back in here, and Grundy, how you doing? Now, so Ragnarok, what do you have all set to go there for your first oil painted miniature? Hopefully something that's nice and easy, right? Not too complicated. Let's see. So, Grundy, I'm glad that you're doing well. Let's see here. Let's get just a smidge of glue right here, and then we'll pop you on there as well. Don't want any excess glue there. All right, that'll be good enough for right now. Get this out of the way. Now, Grundy, I don't know if you say, hey, Sammy Poo, how you doing? So this is the first of the chapter series here. So this was a special, well, we wanted to do that whole thing with Space Marines, right? Where we do the most common chapters, kind of run through them with the oils, right? So this was obviously a bit of Imperial Fist action here, and we definitely made use of the Indian Yellow on this one. So I'll be editing that one later tonight, and that'll be up for the YouTube channel there. Hey, Lumberjack Tim, how you doing? I know, man. It's now have you just? I'm assuming you've been on the road like crazy, like on the road like crazy. So hopefully, maybe you got a little bit of time for yourself, maybe a little time for doing some painting as well. Yeah, Grundy, that's what I'll be editing later tonight. Now, I don't know if you guys, some of you guys might not have seen what we put together last night. So it was our first two building stream. We built that watchtower, which was really interesting, and then we built that. It's actually a blacksmith shop there, so that was really fun too. Oh, they put cameras in the truck. Wow, Lumberjack Tim. I mean, well, I guess I have to ask the question is what were guys, maybe I don't want to know what guys were watching. Maybe I don't want to know what guys were watching in the truck. Yeah, that's, don't want to know. I think it's best we just leave that up to the imagination. We'll leave that to Imagination Nation. We'll go all PBS or whatever that is. Hey, Robosh, nice to see you too. Let's see, a Signum Workshop Mini, Orm the Stone Skin. Yeah, you'll have to, well, as always, you'll have to shoot me some images of that as you're working on it, right? So that I can see what you got going. This is the usual pre-glaze right here. There ain't nothing fancy about this. I mean, literally, there ain't nothing fancy about it. It's just we're slapping down some of these darker colors. They are not going to be super staining because, well, they're not staining colors. They're earth tones. Terra Rosa has a little bit of a possibility of being staining. I mean, Fanchon Red can be a little bit, but not a lot. Ah, okay. That makes me that actually makes me feel a little bit better. They're a little less like, wow, man, what kind of what kind of stuff do people got going on in them trunks there? I just don't want to have a video plan when I'm driving in case something like that happens. Yeah, Lumberjack Tim, they would even if it was totally somebody else's fault or whatever, they would probably wouldn't blink at the opportunity to use you as the fall guy, wouldn't they? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be the case. So yeah, the building last night, that was pretty wild. Working on that. Well, the two buildings anyways. Really fun to get those going. Yeah, we gotta. Doesn't matter if some of this gets onto here because guess what? If it's gonna be any kind of reflective metal, well, why is it not reflecting on there? Let's push that out of the way a little bit further there. So hopefully everybody had themselves a decent week. I know it's been a little bit weird, lots of crazy weather and stuff all over the place. It certainly has gotten super hot here, which has just kind of played havoc with some things. Now we'll have to, here, let's move this guy out of the way here so we don't snap off any stuff on him. But what we'll do is we'll do the pre-glaze on this. Then we'll switch over to the lizard so that this can have a little more chance to remain in place before we try and do the wiping off of some of the paint there. I think we're all set. Yeah. So there's I don't know if I'll be able to get some. There was a couple of things out that I might be able to get prepped for Saturday just to kind of have some fun with, but I think probably we're just going to have to go with things that I already have prepped. I don't know how much time I'm going to have for prepping all new things and getting those ready, plus doing all that stuff with the videos. So, yeah, there's a lot of things I need to get caught up on. So, while we have plenty of Lord of the Rings stuff to get caught up on, And maybe I'll get a chance to prep some more ships for Monday so that we can add to our armada. See that? See? Wordcraft right there. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe not exactly Wordcraft, but close to it. The saddle there, that seems... Okay, so it looks like it's made out of wood for the most part, so we'll give that some cooler colors. Something even a little bit more on the greenish end of things, perhaps. Some spinel. Oh, maybe even a little bit of our black. Actually, the other thing I had thought about doing for Saturday was trying to paint some terrain. So don't be surprised if maybe we try and get a little bit of terrain painting going on. It depends what can fit on the camera, or under the camera anyways. That will be entirely dependent on that. I have that second house that hasn't been painted. Now the blacksmith shop might, see, even that might be a little bit on the big side for trying to get under the camera as far as painting goes. So I think, unfortunately, that might just be a little bit too difficult. All right, and we're almost there. Let's see if we can... Oh, yes, yes, yes. What a smidge of Indian yellow in here. Holy smokes, how do we almost forget that? Huh? That would have been unfortunate. Don't want to forget the Indian yellow. It's almost like the Umber, you got to respect the Indian yellow. And as you can see, it's super detail, right? There's a lot of precision work going on here. Nothing but the best. Sponge time again. Sponge time. Again, we took off some of the stuff from the bottom. Get some of this taken off here. We don't want to wipe it all out. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a balance, and it's always going to be different. The pre-glaze is never the same. I know people really would love to have some kind of universal thing that applies in every situation. Well, that ain't miniatures, that's for sure. Because every miniature, every color scheme is going to be different. And with oils, every color itself is also different. Different consistencies. Well, I mean, of course, different levels of staining too. Look at that Indian yellow. That was barely on there. That's a light color. And look at the staining of that thing. It's unbelievable. That's just crazy stuff there. That is absolutely nuts that it can just do that. Gonna grab me... Oh, what the heck? We'll just grab it. Nope, not that one. We'll grab ourselves another one of our One True brushes here. We'll see if we can mix up something that's a slightly a little more... No, we'll just grab some Egyptian violet here. That's just going to be too much of a brown. Little Egyptian violet, and boom, there we go. And we'll try and get some of that into his mouth there too. Really tough to get any paint in there, so do what we can. Let's see, that's how Lumberjack feels about the Pro Acryl yellows. Boy, it's been a while since we used the Pro Acryl stuff. I'm trying to think. Well, the transparent yellow, we used that a lot. Well, we used, actually, that was the stuff that I used the most from the Pro Acryls, was the transparent colors. Obviously, they were, to me, they were a bit like the Reaper liner paints. Basically, all kind of the Reaper liner paints, the Green Stuff World Intensity inks, the Pro Acryl stuff. You know what? You know what? I might just, even now at this early stage, start to, see, that's what I was hoping to be able to do. See that darker color over the top of it? So that's going to, that's why we're wiping some of this away here. Let's little bit of that wiped away. This is some of our black here. Aha, there we go. That's I saw this texture, I saw those references, and I thought, you know, what I never get to do is do a dark scale texture over something lighter, and people have actually asked me about that. So this is kind of my first chance to maybe fool around with that. And yeah, this is kind of fun. That's kind of liking that. All right, that's kind of neat. Basically, what I'd like to do is get as much of this lower area here ready to rock so that we could get him glued down as soon as possible. That would be kind of handy. Here, let's and this is, yes, that's a dry brush over wet paint. However, it's wet paint that we also kind of wiped away. So there you go. Cat Herder and 954. How are you doing? It's 954. I haven't seen the video yet, but a lot of folks were in here last night, and all of a sudden there was a lot more subscriptions on the YouTube channel, and so I knew there was something going on because there was a bunch more followers on the Twitch channel. I went, all right, something happened. And then last night people were saying, hey, did you hear about Marco? So I actually sent Marco a message. I don't know if he's seen it. I just sent him an Instagram message because didn't really know any other way. But he was talking about doing a collab there, so that could be a fun thing that maybe we get to do. I don't know if that's going to be in video form or a stream or anything like that. Actually, does Marco do any live streams? Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to well, actually, I'll just have to find the video later tonight and just leave some leave some thank yous on the video itself. I'll just hunt that down later tonight after the stream here when we're doing all the other stuff we were talking about. Is this yeah, this is my darker brush right here. We have some tendrils of hot glue that are still kind of floating around here, so well, if you see any tendrils of stuff that looks like a spider web, that's just hot glue from last night's exercise. So yeah, that was really cool. Obviously, a whole bunch of folks followed on the Twitch channel here, so that was really nice. It's always great to get more follows there too. That was kind of a fun surprise that they also found their way over here onto Twitch, which was fun. So a video every Thursday, okay. Yeah, I don't really get to watch any videos at all of any kind. I can maybe listen to things as the phone is in my pocket while I'm exercising. That is literally the extent of what I get to do video-wise as far as watching stuff. So I'll just have to maybe play that later tonight in my pocket or something like that while I'm exercising. All right, we don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff on that saddle anyhows because, well, it's going to mostly be covered up by our lizard. So let's make sure we've got this oriented the right way here. And we'll just stick him on there. Okay. And here too. I think I'm going to have to maybe bend that just a smidge to get that to be stuck down in there. So 1 second here. Of course, we do not have our pliers out here. Now they're over here. Just got to bend that back a little bit, and that should be a little better now. Hey, Belfera, how you doing? Let's see. So, yeah, the Pro Acryl stuff, it was the closest I could find to the Reaper clear and liners, that sort of thing. Okay, there we go. So now he's, actually, is that where he's supposed to be? That is not quite where he's supposed. Oh, okay. All right. That will work. So let's just throw some paint on the back of him here. if we can. Yep, and that's our lighter color there. It's just a little bit of asphaltum, maybe a little Terra, well, sorry, French Indian red there. Nothing, again, nothing crazy, nothing special. Just throw this on here and we'll wipe it away like we've been doing. Let's see, and I want to give it to listen too. That's what I'm doing now. Listen to the stream while I paint. I'm glad you're able to get some paint in there, Lumberjack Tim. So what are you painting at? Unless I already asked you. So Cat Herd, I hope that you're doing well. And so every Thursday, here we go. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of stuff we could possibly do collab-wise. I mean, I can always send him video footage or whatever. Not quite sure. But I know I haven't seen any. Well, gosh, when's the last painting video that I watched? And I've seen people's painting streams, well, like Steela's or whatever, right, while I'm exercising, or Drax while I'm exercising, but never really got a chance to actually just sit there and watch a painting video at all. Pretty much ever. I think I've maybe seen a few seconds of videos now and then. That's about it. So this is another one of the commissions. It's another one of the lizard guys. You know, kind of going along with these lads right here. Some Lannister. Oh, the starter box. So you can ask to do some demos on Song of Ice and Fire. Well, that should be pretty fun. Boy, it's been a while since I've messed around with the starter set figures. That's what I'm looking for. So another one of our. We'll just use that. What the heck? We're gonna get some of our phthalo green, Prussian blue. No, actually, in the darkest areas here, let a little of the perline black even work its way into there. And then we'll wipe some of this away first, and then we'll come in with our browns and other such things. Until we move that thing out of the way. We don't need that sitting over there. Let's see. I think we're all caught up now. So Valfair, hopefully you had not too rough of a week. Is that armor also? Oh no, it ends over here. Okay. I didn't realize what. Yep. Now there was a bunch of skinks that I just again we were trying to raise some funds here really quickly, so I've got some skinks. That's the other thing I have to do tonight is finish off 4 more skinks. Now those were just done with acrylics because I was painting something else in acrylics, and while I was doing that, I just said the heck with it and just slapped paint on those guys where I could. Gotta be, if you're gonna be doing this thing for a living, you gotta be super flexible and pretty much be able to change on a dime. Now I am going to bring up the brightness, also gonna zoom in on this guy here. Let me see. So recently finished the Stark Army, moving on to the Mountains Men. Yeah, actually I did do I know I did oh, that's right, I did army painting series on them, actually in oils. Yeah, that was the first Song of Ice and Fire oil painting series that I did. It would be kind of neat to do those guys again. Obviously, I think I know I have another starter box sitting downstairs, so we might have to do those again, just with the modernized version. There was a lot of the Miguel oil brushers on those guys there. So Valfera, I don't know if you have had a chance to print up any new fun stuff over the course of the last few days. I've kind of had the printer off with the temperatures and humidity being as they were. Now, of course, it is cooler in the basement, but I think I would want to have a fan or something like that down there to try and get some air moving around. So I'm going to have to, guess I'm going to have to order. That's one of the reasons why I need to make some quick cash, is to just order up some fans and some more things to try and get air circulating here. And as always, what we'll do is we'll wipe off as much of the greenish color as we can and then get into some of the warmer stuff that's on the shield. This thing with the chain right here, not quite sure how that's going to work. I think we'll just, that might be something that I add to this thing later on as I see how it all kind of goes together. Or it might be just something that I eliminate and cut off of there when the oils are dry and just say, I don't want to deal with this. Because it could end up just being more fragile than anything else. There are times where you just have to make an executive decision like that. Where you say, well, this has to be transported. It's got to be sent somewhere. Ain't never going to make it there in one piece. If that's on it. I think we're all caught up now. Yeah, I think we're all caught up there. So the big old Comodo dragon, as we'll call him, it's kind of a typical thing with Mierce Miniatures. And they'll have like monsters bigger than this dude riding monsters bigger than that dude. Believe me, there's like polar bears riding polar bears or polar bears riding dragons. I mean, there's just like, there's a lot of huge critters, especially the octopus guy. That's always going to be the craziest figure that I've ever had to paint. A gigantic octopus monster with a whole bunch of tentacles, and one of those tentacles had an anchor chain and a big old anchor hanging off of it. So that was definitely the craziest of all the Mierce Miniatures stuff.
Hello, little hobbit. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much, Arabi, for that new follow. That is appreciated. Hello, little hobbits. Oh, no, it's back to these guys again. Fly, you fools. Boy, Gandalf was not expecting to see the Lizardmen. He thought maybe the Lizardmen were all done. Yeah, Valfera, it's kind of funny that the printer down there has done way better. It wasn't anything else. It was just the files themselves. Because it's been toasty for a little while. I just haven't had time either to be switching things out, right, cleaning things off, and I haven't had any time to make new build plates. That's the thing that I need to do. I literally need to spend hours doing that, making new build plates. I don't think tonight is going to be the night that we do that. Maybe tomorrow night. Just make tons and tons of build plates. There's a lot of files that need to get printed out. And of course, it's June now, so a lot of the new June releases for a lot of the different Patreon pages are out. So you can see we're letting some of that green get over the top of that. Intentionally. Definitely with intent. All right, here we'll get some of our reds on there. Over here too. A little bit on the armor. I think I already sent off the guy that had the armor on before. Let's just take some Van Dyke Brown back here. The heck with this. I don't care. It's all going to be, you ain't going to see much of this at all. You can hardly see it like this, and when he gets on that, in the saddle thing there, you can't see any of this. It literally all just disappears. So all I want to do is just make that as dark as I can. Might as well do all the messy stuff during the messy stage, which is a stage that I always love and a stage that usually frightens and shocks and horrifies most other folks. All right, we'll just take some of this away now. Oh, I'm gonna grab a little bit of that Indian yellow here and poof onto that shield like so. Maybe a bit of our cadmium yellow deep too. Asphaltum. maybe some more neutral, like a Van Dyke brown down here. As you can see, there is not a whole lot of thinner in this, is there? Just as I do this, less and less thinner. Just kind of how that goes. Things are always going to be changing all the time. So wine corks. Yeah, we use these on. Oh yeah, here. They worked really well for holding the sails. That's what these were for. It's for holding the sails on our ship. So now this one is dry, and we'll be able to do our water effects on that one. So Valfera, you know, there's nothing but the finest in equipment here on this channel. We don't do things halfway right. It's nothing but the finest of equipment here. Look at that, a used water container lid. You don't get quality supplies like this on every channel. Probably don't get quality supplies like this on Marco's channel. I'm pretty sure you don't. I'm pretty sure he's using much snazzier stuff. People must be absolutely horrified. They come from his to here, where we're quite literally just using junk. That has to be absolutely horrifying. It's horrifying enough for folks that are used to me just literally using junk. Because that's what we do here. It's a green channel, right? Because we recycle a lot of junk. Let's see. These are a separate brush, blending brush for metallics and non-metallic. Anthro, they're all the same brushes. Once you clean them with this right here, and this is what we clean all of our stuff with, you know, dried acrylic and oil color, that's all out of there. If I feel like I need to clean it even a little bit more, after they've been, you know, washed with their, or cleaned off with that brush cleaner, I'll just hit them with some rubbing alcohol. Because believe me, these brushes have seen way worse. This is seen, oh, here you can see, there's glue on there. There's probably some crushed glass snow on there. There's flex paste on there. There's, oh look, you can, so there's been way worse stuff on this brush than metallic paint for sure. Again, that kind of goes to the whole using junk, right? Alrighty, here, let's do the last of this. Wiping this stuff away right here. So Anthro, if you mean like if we were doing the shield in a TMM or something like that, I sometimes I do. Well, actually the blending brush, no, the blending brush is pretty much just the same because I'm wiping the paint out of it with my hands anyway. So the blending brush, not so much. I have just so many of these craft brushes sitting around. As you can see, we have a couple of them underway, right? I just grab another one and go, I guess we'll just use this now. Because the thing is, if you're constantly, and you've heard this, right? If you're constantly cleaning your brushes, you're going to be getting a lot of liquid in there. And that's really not what we want, is a whole bunch of liquid on the miniature. So, speaking of which, where is that? We just used him. Where did he go? That's not him. There he is. So like this one just had some Egyptian violet in it. Not going to try and wash it off or anything like that. Just going to take that and poof. Just throw it on there. That's no big deal, right? So yeah, when we were doing our Minas Tirith guys, I think we had a whole bunch of brushes going during that. Actually, where's the boar? Here he is. I haven't actually looked at him in a little while. So here's that was our Boromir right there, using some metallic paints on him. It is kind of wild having basically an entire army of TMM, which I've never had because basically wasn't allowed to do that. So it's kind of sweet now to actually get a chance to do something like that. All right, so let's grab some of our cadmiums here, and as always, we will keep this in dry brush form. And where's our... This was really fun here too, actually. The Indian yellow as a pre-glaze was really nifty. A lot of the asphaltum in there and the Van Dyke brown in the pre-glaze, and then we were really having some fun just plopping the paint on there and then pushing it around because these Primaris Marines have huge surfaces, right? Some really big old surfaces. So we're just kind of waiting on him to dry. Now I'll be ditching the glove once the lizard is actually on the miniature. Actually, I could probably ditch the glove. Maybe not right now. Actually, yes, I think I can. What the heck? Because it's too dang worn to be wearing that stupid glove there. Let's see. I'm trying to decide between biometallics for TMM. Anthro, the nice thing is that you don't really have to invest in a whole bunch of metallic paints, right? If you just get a few of the interference colors, I mean, you could actually just get something like the interference blue and maybe the Gamlin silver, and then maybe the, what we say, the pearl, iridescent pearl white. Those three, that's all you would need. Not kidding. That's literally all you would need. You wouldn't need a whole set of metallic paints. Those three colors, if you want to do TMM, that would be more than enough. That would get you pretty far along. Now you could start to add some of the other ones, the interference red, the interference green. I really like those. They are fantastic, but maybe you just start out with the interference blue because I don't know, that's probably the one you're going to be using the most, I would say. Here, I'll just wipe some of that away. Let's come back on in here with some of our yellows, like so. To Entropic Echo, speaking of brushes, synthetic cheap croppers, I don't care for oils. I don't actually wash my brushes with the thinner, so, and I don't use white spirits either. And yeah, the brushes have no problem with that at all. Again, I'm using this brush cleaner right here, and again, it works for dried acrylic and for oil colors. So Anthro, again, there's really no, because we're trying to get colors to blend together, there's not really going to be a lot of separating brushes out. So I know that's, again, that's probably something that people aren't used to hearing. Okay, here, let's bring a little bit more of our gold now over here, our lighter gold color. I think I guess we can still go a little bit lighter on that. And let's do this side too, and then we'll bring in some more of our darks as well. I know that people just they get people get more worried about the contamination, that kind of stuff. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just not that big a deal. Now let's get some stuff going on this blade right here. So like here, this has got yellow on it. Well, all I'm going to do is just try and squeeze as much out of this here brush as I can. And now we're going to head on over to some of our phthalo green. Start to lighten some of this. Also warm it up too. Maybe even a little bit of the Indian yellow works its way in there. So you can see I kind of went from the straight up yellow there to something that's a bit of like a yellowish green. Walking our way towards maybe, I don't know, some kind of colors that can go well up there. Oh, wait, we need some green reflected on this too. Because if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. So that's why I really don't care if paint mixes around like this. Well, even if it were acrylics, to me, still wouldn't matter. But with the oils, right, the whole point of using those is to actually let those colors sort of move around, kind of touch every part of the miniature. All right. Let's get some of our greens down here, and there's a big old saddle thing that comes up through the back of them there. So just a whole bunch of this you are not going to be able to see. So we're not going to do a lot of stuff here on the interior because it literally just disappears. You cannot see any of this stuff. All right, we've gotten some, let's do a little bit more with our lighter greens here. And then we'll move on quickly to the sword there. Do some stuff on that. Here, let's get some more of this lighter color on his head. Where's our example here? So as you can see, we are going to get lighter and warmer for sure. Oh, and Tropic Echo. Oh, yeah, there's definitely a huge difference there for sure. So I'm sure you're going to notice a significant difference there. Yeah, now of course the whatchamacallit, the Wintons there, the starter set, I still use that from time to time. But you know, now I have the Gamlins, I've got the Williamsburg, so I use it less. It's not like I wouldn't use those. If that's all I had, what the heck, I'd use them. Wouldn't be that big a deal. But I've got since I have those Williamsburgs and everything else, and they sort of make life a little bit easier. What the heck, I'm gonna utilize those. Let's see. Wasn't there? Oh, actually, the other thing too, Anthro, is that the fun thing about the oil. Well, when I've been doing the oil metallic stuff, is that when I put the anti-shine, the Army Painter anti-shine over the top of it, like all the interference paints and stuff, it doesn't dull the metallics. I guess that's something that happens with acrylics or whatever. Again, I don't really do acrylic metallics all that often, so don't really notice that. But yeah, if that's something else that you're worried about there, Anthro, the metallic oils, yeah, those don't. They are not really affected when you hit them with the Army Painter Anti-Shine. So hopefully that's also a little bit encouraging for you too. Because, well, yeah, we did it on all of our Luminath. We did it on our Ossiarchs. We've done it on our Minas Tirith and haven't noticed any kind of reduction in the sauciness of those metallics. So hopefully that's also music for your ears there, Anthro, that you don't have to worry about that. Because I didn't know that was a thing. Because again, we never got to paint metallic stuff ever in 20 years. The number of figures that I painted with metallic paints, I could pretty much count on one hand and not have any less than 5 fingers left on that same hand. So let's just say there weren't a whole lot of metallic stuff being painted. That's been the really cool thing about the Patreon page and well, doing this, right, on the Twitch thing here. Because I actually get to try things like that otherwise never would get a chance to do it. So that's really cool. All right, so we're starting to lighten up our greens. Oh, look, I'm just taking this same green here because there's a lot of green on the ground. All of the bases have tons of plants and other green. Here, look at this. We're going to take that same green. We're going to chuck that right over there. We're going crazy, aren't we? All right, and guess what? We're going to take this same stinking brush here. We'll just use our little paper towel here and wipe some of that off. And let's figure out what do we want to have happen here with their metallics, or with their the blade. Just throw some of this here. That's gonna have to be lighter too, just like the other side. And let's plop some more here. I was doing a lot of this on that that Imperial Fist Marine as well. That was kind of fun again to just get the, well, grab a blending brush like so and start pushing stuff around. So we got Megan in the house. Megan, how you doing? So Megan, we continued with the Rohan project. Look at that. Able to get a blacksmith constructed and a watchtower. Yes, we got both of those ready to rock and roll. We'll just take our blending brush here, nice and easy. Look at that. So that was really cool of Marco. I know that a lot of people, I think having people asked me in the chat, you know, have you seen Marco's stuff? Have you seen Marco's stuff? So that was really nice of him to do that. So look at that. Does it get any easier than this? I don't think so. And this is because we're letting that paint mix, right? Hey, Offbeat Art, nice to see you again. Michigan, nice to see you too. So Michigan, I know you were, oh, I don't know if you saw, we just showed him here a second ago. We'll bring him back after we do a little bit of blending brush activity here. We did the first of our, we're just going to call it chapter studies, where we painted an Imperial Fist and we were using a lot of our Indian yellow for sure on him. So we're going to be editing and rendering this video tonight and then hopefully let it upload overnight. So this was really fun. And this is the first one in that series. We'll obviously be doing a bunch more. Here we're going to put some darker colors in here. So Offbeat Art, I hope that you're doing well. So yeah, we've got, how many buildings do we have now? We've got, well, the one GW piece. We got those two for 3. We got that one technically 4 and 5 because that base right there, we're actually going to build another structure that can go on top of that. So that technically is number 6. There's number 7. There's number 8. And then we've got 9 and 10, right? Because we have a second one of these too. So we actually have, wow, we have 10 Rohan terrain pieces. Thanks, Michigan. Yeah, Grumdy, it was really interesting to be able to just kind of push the paint around on them. Like, it was like this blade, except pretty much the entire miniature was like that. And we did do the freehand. That was all wet into wet. So yeah, the whole process was all wet into wet. All right, so here we're going to, again, make sure we got no paint on there. So instead of trying to paint this on or layer this or whatever, the heck with layers. We're not layering here. We're going to take this paint and we're going to pull it over this way. Oh, look. Huh? Why would I sit there and mix tons of layers of paint and paint those all on when all I literally have to do is just nice and easy like that, right? Take this blending brush again. Here, let's make sure we got no paint on the end of that. And away we go, huh? Makes it nice and easy, doesn't it? Well, Valfera, considering that all of those buildings were built in the last 6 weeks, I think that is, and painted. Yes, all of that was done in the last 6 weeks. So I think the painting process is going to take way less time than the building process because, you know, oils, right? Now, sadly, I don't think there's any way we're going to be able to fit that painting process on stream. However, I might be able to film that for some videos. Don't quote me on that, but we'll give that a try. Yeah, Dr. Feetgood, that's what I would do, is I just paint them in a Saturday stream. The problem is they're just, they are too big to get on camera. That is the bummer, is they're just too darn big to get on camera here. Because this area was always ever meant to be for miniatures. It was never meant for large scale stuff. That large scale stuff, that was supposed to be painted in a whole nother part of the house. Oh, I'm glad that you could at least catch a little bit of that last night, Offbeat Art. I had a lot of fun doing that, and oh, I don't know if you heard, but I was able to find, as I was actually looking for references for that blacksmith, I found a whole ton of Easterling terrain and Harad terrain ideas. The same folks that did the Rohan stuff that you saw me kind of using as references. Well, there's a bunch and a ton of Gondor references. So I have dozens of references now. So there's going to be, we have all kinds of fantastic references for future terrain stuff. And yeah, that's the other nice thing, Velfera, is that the oils, well, they make everything go faster, right? It's like red makes everything go faster. But the oils really, oh my gosh, so much less painful to paint that terrain. I think this thing right here, what was this, about 4 hours or so to paint this thing, something like that. And that was with all the object source lighting. When we're talking about buildings that are just essentially some greens and grays and a little brown here and there, that's going to go nice and fast, especially with the oils. Now, Velfera, that's that absolutely pales in
So
comparison to
say
what's
we all.
already here. And thank you so much, Sinstar. 2 months of subbing. Thank you very much, Sinstar. That is appreciated. Actually, Dr. Feedgood, ironically enough, all the cameras and everything that I was going, and the computer as well, that I was going to use for doing that, that is all now set up to try and do the battle reports and stuff. So that's why I wasn't, it was kind of a choosing between one and the other. And, well, there was, if we had infinite funds here, we would just get a whole nother machine and a whole nother camera and everything else. But unfortunately, we have to kind of share things a little bit as far as filming areas. Hopefully, maybe one day we can get some more fun equipment for that. Let's see. So Sinstar, hopefully you got yourself some relatively simple miniatures, and hopefully just kind of keeping the amount of colors simple as well. All right, don't want to make that too complex on your first couple of outings. You don't want to make things too difficult on yourself. When we were doing our watercolor stuff, for the first 3 months out of the year of our class, all we got was one color, brown, and nothing else. Because they said, you're trying to learn a whole new medium here. You don't need to be fighting colors and color theory and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, Valfera, I mean, you've seen all the bolt action terrain, right? And you've seen all the Wappelville terrain. There's enough terrain around here to probably cover at least 5 6x4 tables, maybe six 6x4 tables for various systems. Fortunately, at least a lot of the natural stuff that I built for our bolt action games, that can definitely work for Lord of the Rings. It can certainly work for the Shire. Heck, it could probably work for Arnor. Actually, it can probably work for about 70% of Middle Earth, now that I'm thinking about it. So we're just trying to pop in a couple of our lights here on his armor. We're going to have to come in here with some of our reddish orange, and that'll probably be in the form of some Indian yellow, maybe mixed with the either Fanchon red or maybe our French Indian red. So Quiz and Megan, Do you got any big plans for the weekend, or just kind of is it more of a chill out weekend there? Either way, that's all good. Cause for some reason I suddenly thought it was Monday. Cause that's it's not like I don't want to add several Tuesdays to this week. I could definitely use some Tuesdays. Queez is visiting a brewery, plus doing a little bit of family time there. And looks like Offbeat Art is going to have some Egyptian Violet and what else? And Asphaltum. And guess what? That's what we're using literally right now. That's actually what we just threw on the brush was a little bit of Egyptian Violet and now some Asphaltum. They go really nicely together. They definitely go well together. I think you could see we're sort of kind of creating a little bit of semi sky earth there. Not exactly, but sort of. Sort of kinda. Valfera, there's the terrain stuff. That's not commission stuff. The miniatures, those were sold off. But actually I still have all the display boards. And let me see. I still let me see what we have. No, that's our let me see if I can find this for you. There we go. So here, I'll just throw this little link in the chat real quick if I can. So I still have all of that stuff and more, because that ain't all of it. Oh, that ain't all of it by any means right there. And we're just doing here, we're doing a little bit of a pin line. Why? Because we're at a very early stage here, right? And what's interesting is that's all going to set. It's not going to dry, but it will set. And we'll be able to go back in there and not that long a time, maybe 15, 20 minutes, we could go back in there and it won't be dry, but it's certainly not going to have that glossy look to it anymore. Queez, boy, I am a little bit bummed that I just really, I can't do anything with the blog anymore. That's kind of a bummer. But I mean, that's Instagram kind of took over for the blog pretty much. It's not, to me, it's not the same. I would prefer the blog to Instagram, but unfortunately, blogs are really tough to get people to look at these days because you can't post any links on Facebook groups to blogs. So it makes it a little bit difficult to get people to be able to see what you're doing. So yeah, Valfra, that's just a tiny portion of the bolt action terrain. And I do mean a tiny portion of it. There's a whole bunch more. That also doesn't count the entire other terrain table that I made at another person's house. And of course, then there's all of this terrain that is still here. Let me see. Well, that's it's going to take a little while to scroll up there. But where's our? Well, of course, all the terrain that we've got for our Easterlings too. And where's my? We're almost there. There we go. So, yeah, all that stuff is still here. Yeah, all that terrain is still around. Hey, Amunculove, how you doing? Nice to see you again. So I hope that you're having yourself a good Friday, and hopefully the weekend will be fun for you as well. All right, let's take some of the asphaltum here. Let's start combining that with our brilliant yellow pale, because we don't need that to be quite so much of a blue there. We're also going to try and get some lighter colors on the chompers and this chain. We got these crazy little things here too. Oh, there's some chains there. All right, so we'll start to mess around with that too. What the heck? So Homunculus, I don't know if you got a chance to see. Speaking of terrain, the terrain pieces that we were working on last night. But we're really getting, well, we're not done with the Rohan terrain. There's other little small things that I want to do, but there is your blacksmith and a watchtower. We're going to be making some walls too. Homunculus. Now, which of the Williamsburgs did you get? We're using a bunch of them right here. We're using the Brilliant Yellow Pale. We're using the Egyptian Violet, the Fanchon Red. We're even using, this is another, well, we just kind of gave it a try, mostly because a lot of folks cannot get the usual Terra Rosa. Been looking for a substitute, and this seems to be in more places like in Eastern Europe for whatever reason. So I don't know why the Terra Rosa, the regular old Terra Rosa, seems to be difficult for some folks in Europe to get, at least in the eastern portions of Europe. Again, don't ask me why, but they just don't seem to be able to find that. And we've been looking for a substitute, so I just gave that a try. Based on the color history of it and the opacity data on it, I thought, well, maybe that should work. Fanchon Red. We got that out on the palette here too. Homuncula, that is, you know how much I love me that Fanchon Red. What's ironic is that the fluorescent paint that we made out of the Green Stuff World powders, in some ways it's very similar to the Fanchon Red, mostly because of the opacity and the intensity of it. So I did find that kind of hilarious. Yeah, that should be a really nice start there. And Brilliant Yellow, the Brilliant Yellow Pale, I've tried to find other things that are kind of like it, and I just haven't found anything that's like it. Because typically I'll look at people and say, what about this light color? What about that light color? And I'll say, well, I did some research on that, and it's basically literally just titanium white mixed with ultramarine blue, or titanium white mixed with whatever. And I said, well, if that's all it is, that I can do that myself. But Brilliant Yellow Pale, it has some other effect. Really interesting. Here, we're going to take some of this here Van Dyke Brown. We've got some, not just darks to add into this, but we need some, like a horizon line. Same thing all along chest plate here. We'll keep the green intact where we can. That'll sort of be our reflected light. Now it's going to be time. I think we're just going to do a little bit of a pin line wash now with some of our indigo. Let's do that on this the chain here. I'm more interested in just making that dark. I could even just really dry brush the indigo over the top of it. Don't really care at this point. TC Minis, how are you doing? So TC, it was mostly the linseed oil. There were a couple of times, and now if you're watching the videos where I made those, you'll see that there was a couple of the colors where I said, that needs a little bit of thinning. So I did use the thinner, like the same kind of thinner that I would use to make the regular old jars like this. But it was only certain powders, because the powdered pigments are always a little bit different one to the next. That's probably why oil paints are so different in consistency one to the next, because the powdered pigments themselves are already different. So don't be surprised if maybe you need to throw a little bit of thinner into some of those. Homuncula, boy, I wish I had some of the other, I think maybe I do still have some of them up here. 1 second. Do we have any? Oh yeah. Here, let's break out a couple of these guys. These were the ones I was actually looking for. So even the skinkies had that same shield, but that is the really fun shield that we're looking at. So it's basically the same guy. Obviously, one is mounted, the other one not mounted. Oh yeah, that's the new whatchamacallit there, like a starter set kind of a thing, right? All right, a little bit of the Indian yellow and a touch of the French Indian red up there. And again, you can see it's kind of being dry brushed into that. It's not being painted in, it's being dry brushed in. Well, I'm glad that you're using the Mona Lisa stuff there, Sinstar. I know not everybody can get that, but glad you're able to get the Mona Lisa stuff. I really like it. I think it works very well. But I don't use it for cleaning brushes. I mean, this is still what's left over from the Imperial Fist video that I did a couple of days ago. So we use very, very, very little of that. There's just not a lot of that gets used. And I keep using less and less as time goes on, really. All right, there's a little bit of the Fanchon red that's mixed into our cadmium yellow deep there, because I would like to have a couple of areas on here that's got some of that red orangey look to it. We have a lot of greens, we have a lot of browns. We're looking to get as many different variations as we can into things like this here shield. Also have to think about the lizard itself that he's sitting on. And I think there have been some chapters done on that. So it's all about reflections. If it's right next to green. If there's no green reflected on that, it's not going to be metal. Just like here, you can see we have green reflected on that gold. Why? Because all of this green is underneath it here. Look at this. Green over here, it's green over there. Now all of this is done to at least provide some kind of contrast to the green. You can also see there's very little yellow in here. There's oranges, greens, grays. Very little of that is yellow, but it's going to kind of read as gold because of all the reflections. We've got let me see if this does the same thing right here. So again, there's greens in the gold there. Very little of that is actually any kind of yellow, but it reads as gold. Here again, now we're reflecting the light there, but even over here you can see we're reflecting some of the color of the ground, and this is another good one right here. And I'm just going to use a pointy tool here. So look at all this. Yeah, look at all the green. Why? Because it's sitting right next to all this green. You can see here, guess what? The gold gets warmer. But around here, look what it's reflecting the green again. Same thing with and also you want to have some decent contrast there as far as your lights and darks go. So those are a little more contrast, but also lots of reflection. Look at this. Look how that green reflected. But that's shiny gold. How in the world is it not reflecting all that green and turquoise that's right around it? So those are really important things to keep in mind. Let's see, Stream Manager was slightly different in design. Yeah, Stila, the other thing it did is that it's got, if someone is chatting for the first time, it shows up in your chat as first time chatter. So I don't know if those are some of the updates that they did that have created some chaos in that way. I'm just not quite sure if that's what's doing it. But it's definitely something, I guess a few entities are having issues with just in general with the internet. Oh, let's welcome in Thousand Young. Thousand Young, how you doing? Actually, Thousand Young, we have some other Space Marines that are not Thousand Suns. Look at that, Imperial Fists. We filmed this video a couple of days ago using the Indian Yellow and Asphaltum and Van Dyke Brown, and even a little bit of our Terra Rosa. What is your opinion on fantasy versus realism? Well, Thranio, it's always going to be a balance. And what is it? All things in moderation. Because you can try and get as much realism as you want. But, I mean, it's a giant dragon with a lizard on it. I mean, seriously. You got this dude with a shield with an arrow sticking out of it. riding a giant Comodo dragon. You can only do so much with that. At a certain point, you got to say, well, it's fantasy. Oh, look at how that's picking up the Indian yellow. That is so nifty. And then there's other times where you have to basically say, all right, look, the sculpt of this miniature, I would like to do this. The sculpt of the miniature says I have to do this instead. Like here, we're going to have to reflect that ground cover there. Doesn't matter what the miniature is. We got to reflect that ground cover. So that's a different type. Now that's maybe you're adapting more to realism there. The whole idea of the realism is just to at least make it look somewhat believable. Again, all of this stuff is, here again, you've got, little skinky guy with the shield here. Not real, but you do it as real as you can, right, Flight Sim? How you doing, Flight Sim? And J-Wedge. J-Wedge, actually, speaking of army painting and painting contests and all that kind of stuff, I actually have 2 boxes of Dark Angel bikes that were prize support, and I will be prepping those. So don't be surprised if you either see those on the channel here or potentially as painting videos, or both. Probably both because I have so many of the darn things. Now, to get any reflections here, well, guess what we need to do? We need to make some light, dark, light. And we need to do that here. And not so much over here. Not so much there. But we need to do that here. Let's get some more darks down in there. Where's Mr. Blending Brush? There. No, what? Nope, nope, wait. First, however, grab me some of this. Put some of that in here. Take a little bit of our... Just do something like that. There we go. And do some blending here. Let's do some of that. And we had to definitely change some of our colors here to be able to show some kind of reflections. Let's get this side. Let's do a little bit of a smoothing here of some of this stuff. Let me see. We'll get to the Fist of the Emperor in just a second, Flight Sim, because guess what? We have Imperial Fists, right? Let's see. So I think we're all caught up. Yeah, actually, Lothier, that was the whole reason why I wanted the K47 stuff. Not for K47, but just to be able to use it for more games of regular bolt action. So here's our Imperial Fist again. And having painted this, now how many times have I said back in the day, I wish I had oils for painting certain things? Man, I wish I had oils for painting these guys. It would have made all of this stuff immensely easier. And by immensely easier, I mean it would have taken like 1/3 of the time with 1/4 of the stress. Now here, let's say if I'm painting these guys with oils, what I could do, because there's so many of these guys to paint, is I could do all the armor, maybe let it dry, and then maybe do some of the extra weathering or the symbols on the shoulder pads. It doesn't all have to be done wet into wet. And if you're doing this many, as many as I had to do here, it would have dried anyways. And the same thing for this vehicle too. All of this stuff would have been massively easier with the oil paints, for sure. Let me see. So Velferris says, I just stuck one of the Arna Studio Dungeon pinup spin-off into Cheetah Box, boosted it from to almost 300%. It was pre-supported, it would not be hollow. Now, do you think, as far as the weight of it, do you think it would just fall off of the build plate, or kind of potentially fall off the build plate just because of the weight, and like literally be just hauled off the build plate? Or do you think you wouldn't have to worry about that? All right, let's get some lights down here. And I think we're going to start, we're literally dry brushing almost some of this lighter color here. But there we got these bands of color, bands of shading. Oh, let's work in a little bit of green. I think a warmer green than that, because we got green in here too. Yeah, we got to get all that stuff working in there. Also too, it's going to be a nice little contrast to everything that's going on with the dragon itself, right? Yep, Thranduil, it's I know it was what, 307 for one of our German friends there. So typically the Fridays and Monday streams, they start at 6:35 p.m. Central Time US. The Saturday stream, I like to start it, well, I would love to start it about 3, but it pretty much starts at about 4:15 or 4:30 Central Time. The Monday stream, that starts typically again about, we work a little bit of this green in here. That's going to start the same time as the Friday stream, somewhere around 6:35-ish, something like that. Not always. Again, today was a little bit later because the heat and the weather. I just had to all kinds of stuff that I had to be moving around in the house, so I was a little bit later tonight than I normally am. And I think Friday was also delayed because of weather and crazy things. So Flight Sim, it probably won't be anytime soon. That was a special occasion thing there for the Battle of Midway. Now I'm hoping to actually have maybe sometime in August to be painting some that 1/700 scale West Virginia. Basically a little bit of a tribute there for Battle of Surigao Strait. So that's the next thing that I know for sure that I really want to try and work into the schedule. It's the planes aren't the easiest things to fit on screen here, and the Sturmovik and the 262, those are some big birds. Those are some very large birds. So we'll see if we can get those squeezed in as well. Let's see. I think she would print. I printed some stuff that was not hollowed on a person. Wow. So Valfair, that was another thing again that I thought was part of the problem, was that the files were just, there was too much weight, and it was being just sheared off the build plate just because of the weight. Now I'm realizing that pretty much wasn't the case. So I think we maybe in the future we can take some more chances with that kind of stuff. So Thranduil, this is the key right here. You see how little paint there is on that brush? That is the key. That is a chapter in the Book of Wappel. I don't remember which one it is, but less is more and more is way too much. And that is the number one thing that people do, is that they put just orders of magnitude too much paint on their brush, on the miniature, as in like several factors too much. So instead of putting maybe twice as much, they're putting 3, 4, 5 times as much paint as they should be. But that's just kind of something that some folks just learn as they kind of move along with the process. So Thranduil, again, it's not just like here, we've actually thinned down the paint with the thinner physically, but that's because the paint that's already there is actually thicker. So thick over thin and vice versa. Whereas with the acrylic, most of the time you're making it thinner just to get the darn stuff to flow somewhere. Here with the oils, well, you don't have to do that, right? So here again, that's thinner. Going to take our blending brush here. And also too with the oils, You're not painting, you're not layering. You're just basically, we just call it plop and push. You're really just plopping colors on there, pushing them around. Here, we'll do the same right there. And then we're going to maybe lighten this a little bit of almost like a green here to get a couple more. There, that's better. So again, you see we just threw some colors on there and then we pushed them around with our blending brush. That is a huge thing right there. That is really important. And that can be hard for folks when they're, like I said, they're first getting into the oil paints because they're used to acrylics with lots of moisture on the brush. They automatically start layering things, and that's just not something that you want to do. I mean, that's fine for acrylics. That's fine. It does that very well. The oils are more about just throwing that color on there and pushing it around, mixing it, letting it do its own thing. So a dying screen will also cause some, it's almost like a melted frosting or something like that. Or melting ice cream. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the analogy I think that I'm looking for. So we've got these, well, they really love putting these cuts and chips into these things, don't they? So we're just going to make these things dark. We can come back and lighten those suckers up later. Now I used a little bit of asphaltum there. Some of it's also Van Dyke brown. But you can see that covers. Why? Because the paint that's already there is thicker. And we had a little bit of thinner in this to make it less thick than what was already there. Frozen Toes, how are you doing? Nice to see you again. So Thranduil, to me, the only it's acrylics that have all the limitations, not the oil paints. The oil paints, you just have to be willing to take advantage of them. That's the limitation really comes to the person using them. If they are willing to use the oils to their full potential and work on a lot of figures at once or do multiple figures at once or just maybe a very large figure with it, then they'll get to really reap all the advantages of it. But if they're going to just kind of treat it like acrylics, unfortunately they won't, they're just not going to get all of those really fun advantages that you would get with the oil paints. The oil paints are more luminous, they're cheaper, they are far more durable, by orders of magnitude more durable. They will stick to just about anything, which is really hilarious. I've actually taken unprimed miniatures and gotten oil paints to stick to those, especially 3D printing resin. Well, everything sticks to 3D printing resin. Well, at least all the resins that I use. So that's another fun advantage of oil paints. But you just got to be willing to, you kind of have to be willing to set aside some of the things that you're used to with the acrylics and just let the oils flow, right? Let the oils flow. Enjoy what they can do for you. Let's see, just in from Apply Grounds to some panels and canvases. Good way to start the weekend. Frozen Toes. What kind of, do you have some landscapes potentially underway? What you going to be painting there in 2D style? Actually, now that it is getting to be close to my birthday, I have been trying to actually gather some references for our landscapes in Middle Earth, because that's something that we were supposed to be doing in what, well, my birthday week. So hopefully that works out. So here, look at this. We just plopped on some darker colors there, some lighter colors. Gonna make sure there's no paint on that brush. And we're just gonna start blending some of this. We're just gonna let it do what it's gonna do. We can kind of come back in here again and maybe break that into some smaller shapes. like so. There we are. And where's a bit of a light color that we can use along the edge of that, which I think we're going to have to probably thin down here to be able to catch that top edge. And maybe even a couple of more lights in here. Yeah. So a mix of landscapes and some creatures. Mostly practice how to learn to paint oils in 2D. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Thorendo is ready to start exploring the oil paints for miniatures. Yeah, Thorendo, I'll show you something in a second that is also another thing you might want to do. Now let's do a little film noir on this big guy here, and let's focus in, especially on these areas here. Wait, 1 second. Time out. Let me do something here. Throw in a little bit of our orange color there. A little more, and then we'll do a film noir here. So we're literally just kind of dry brushing that in. All right, there, we got some orange in there now. What happens? Boom. Kind of looks like steel, doesn't it? So the color, irrelevant. The reflections, very relevant. Huh? And, oh, same thing over here too. I mean, it literally looks like we painted that with metallic paint, doesn't it? The way it's shining and everything. That's all reflections. That's all that matters. Everything else, not all that important. I know, I don't know if it's because people teach that or they just make things way harder than they need to be because maybe that seems more impressive. They're trying to scare people. I don't know. We're focused on saying, like, yeah, this ain't a big deal. It's the same thing with the 3D printing. There were some folks that immediately dove into, oh, this, that, and the other thing. And there's other folks that are like, look, just make sure it's level. Make sure you haven't, make sure it's turned on. And make sure there's actually a file in there. And just press the stupid on button and see what happens. And that, to me, was a far better approach to getting somebody to want to try and use it than the, make sure you check this, and then you check this, and then you got to check that. And I had no idea what they were talking about. They were trying to be helpful, but unfortunately it was complexifying everything. And yes, that's a word that we use here. Complexifying is an actual word. At least here it is. So Thranio, the thing we were talking about are these. Of course, Payne's Gray is the first one we pull out. But stuff like this, where you take pretty much the same 5 colors and mix different colors with it, you learn, okay, how translucent something is. This is translucent, but it's a very powerful color. Look at how far it's carried over into the white. You can see what a weak color this is because look at how far the white's carried over this way. Also translucent. So you can see this color has not much to it. Purple matter, there's a reason why we use that on these guys because it's got some giddy up to it. And here you've got this permanent crimson. Look at how far that went over to the right. And see, the perline red was kind of a 50-50 color right there. And this is one of your faux cadmiums here. So again, another 50-50. This kind of got more overpowered than I expected for a cadmium green. And then your ultramarine violet, again, it kind of got pushed around a little bit by the lighter colors. So that's why I did the videos on those. I strongly recommend doing something like that for your own stuff. And it's just some cheap illustration board. That's all it is. Nothing fancy. You'll learn about the paint consistency. You'll learn about how it interacts with other colors. You'll learn a lot of valuable info. Yeah, Arta Michael, the entire summer, I was convinced that I knew nothing about 3D printing. In February, I just said, the heck with this. I had some new files, and I said, well, we're just going to try this. And everything printed exactly fine. No problem whatsoever. And as it turned out, then I found out later that, yeah, the files that I was trying to print were notorious for lousy supports and really, really notorious for it. So once I started printing other things, or even the same company with new people doing the supports, it completely changed everything. So that was a big deal right there. I didn't think it would have that much of an impact, but wow, it really did. Yeah, let's see if we can maybe get a bit of, yeah. One more light streak in there. Let's see if we can blend that a smidge here. Like so. And it's time for Valfera to head off to his sleepy buys. Yeah, we're going to have to change that, right, Valfera? We're going to have to put a different one on top there. Or not, just to torment poor Nessie there. And thank you so much, Valfera, for the bitses. Appreciate that. Well, let's do a little film noir with both of these guys. So we're gonna do this. Position him this way. Let's do our color intensity. Ah, good. You can see them both in there. So again, you can see all of the. There's lots of reflected light and everything, but there's not the reflected colors necessarily. But still, even in straight up black and white mode, right? It still looks like it's got that metal look to it, that kind of shiny reflectiveness. Let me see. I think we're almost caught up there. Thranuel says it's mostly getting the paint consistency right. Well, Thranuel, that's going to be a practice thing. And that's why I suggest doing those. And that's why Frozen Toes is doing those 2D paintings. Because it's a way to get used to how the paints kind of interact together. And those color chart things, that really, there's colors that I kind of dismissed from the palette that I thought just had no purpose until I did them. I used them in one of those color theory videos, as I call them, and I said, wait a minute, there's more to this thing. So there's colors that have come back to the palette based on doing those little color chart things that I just showed you. I know that doesn't seem terribly exciting. Heck, I would almost suggest you even do it with acrylic colors too. Just think, whenever, if you go back to acrylic stuff, you might even want to think about doing that with acrylics. Because to me, there's a whole lot of value in doing that. It's going to show you a whole bunch of things you never thought you would ever see. Now here, this has got a little bit more of the thinner in it, just because a lot of the paint that's here is relatively thick, right? I'm just going to make sure we got ourselves a focus, because now we got a different critter out here. That's better. Also, too, we're trying to kind of keep this in line with our other guy. Also, too, there's all this orange on the Comodo dragon, so I think we probably want some on here as well. So that the paint consistency thing, there is no substitute for just doing it. And there's a lot of chapters in the Book of Wappel. Less thinking, more doing. Theory hammer doesn't work any better in painting than it does in Warhammer or 40K. Because once those dice start rolling, any theory you got is pretty much toast. Or if you're playing bolt action, the first order dice can pretty much, you don't even get to roll a dice. You're just pulling order dice. And already your theories are completely toast. Now, I guess one of the things they were thinking about doing with the third edition of bolt action was incorporating some of the either Conflict 47 or some of the Gates of Antari stuff into bolt action, as far as more movement variety on between infantry and vehicles and that sort of thing. Let's we're not going to get some of our white back out on the palette here. All right, Thranduil, you have a good one. And I would definitely suggest, Thranduil, just to try out some of those, just try out some colors on a piece of board and see what the heck happens. You'll probably be really surprised at what happens. You say, man, I never really expected that. Because when you watch some of my videos, one of the things you hear me say a lot is, wow, I didn't expect that. Because again, theory hammer, it only lasts as long as till the paint hits the brush or hits the miniature. At that point, it doesn't really matter anymore. That's with acrylics, but I don't have to worry about trying to blend layers and layers of any kind of colors there. Let's see. All right, I think we're all good there. Yeah, I think we're caught up. So yeah, the Patreon page, like Armored Wolf was kind enough to post a link to that. All kidding aside, there's literally 800 hours worth of tutorial videos there. If you do that Army Painter pledge, actually there's probably more. Actually now we're starting to push more towards the 900 hour. So Armored Wolf, are we going to have to do like an official count just to see when we can celebrate 1,000 hours of total content there? And our most recent video, this is what I'm going to be editing as soon as we're done here. This is the very first of the these chapter studies. So we're basically taking various chapters of Space Marines, we're painting them with oils. In this case, obviously a little bit of Imperial Fists here. So that was our first one that we did for our chapter studies series. I'm going to change my focus again. There we go. Ebenfell, nice to see you. Let's see. I organized my dungeon dressing, and then there's a surprise mini at the end. So Ebenfell, how you doing? So Ebenfell, we proceeded. We kept going with Rohan. Yeah, there we go. We added that to the windmill, to the archery range, the stable, the great hall. So I think we've got ourselves right now technically 10 terrain pieces for our Rohan terrain boards. Thanks, Tukale. Oh, that's sorry, that was for mishap damage. Never mind, never mind. So sorry. I apologize there. My camera's in a little different spot than it was last night. Actually, it's back in its normal spot. But I'm still trying to look around the spot where I was looking at last night because of the terrain piece, which was colossal. And this not necessarily going to be pink either. And I think we're just going to keep, this is got Egyptian violet on it. And we're just throwing some of our brilliant yellow pale on there.
So say we all. So say we all.
Wicked Elf, thank you so much. That's appreciated. And of course, folks, where's it? There it is. If you want fabulous, wonderful vellum plants, vellum butterflies, all things vellum, well, there's one place you can get those from, and you can get them from here. Let me grab something that we can make sure actually has what I need on there. Yes, that comes from Wicked Elf Miniatures, wickedelfminiatures.com. Amazing foliage. It's incredible. I've used it so many times, and not just the foliage too. There's the vellum butterflies, lily pads, all kinds of fun stuff. But look at all these things. Those are all from Wicked Elf Miniatures. They're far more economical than, say, brass etched stuff. They're actually more realistic than brass etched stuff, and they're actually, well, they're way easier to deal with. That's for sure, than brass etched stuff. So just go check those out. I would suggest you do that. Let's see, Ebenfell is lamenting doing the troll bloods. I'm starting off for wards, not a fan of resin. With base details molded 2 feet. Yeah, Ebenfell, it's kind of funny. Basically, and I think Laminess has heard me say this a bunch of times, that 3D printing it's been really ruining resin figures for me because I just hate dealing with resin figures now. Even ones that are not that bad to assemble, I just hate dealing with resin miniatures now. Actually, I don't even like dealing with plastic miniatures. Even that Space Marine that you saw, that was a that was kind of a pain in the keister because that plasma gun was like 47 parts, and it didn't need to be any more than maybe 3. It was absolutely crazy that they did it in that many parts. And there you go. Also, too, you'll get that 15% off if you use that coupon code right there. So, Wicked Elf, if you wanted to show any of your recent stuff and link that into the chat there, please feel free to do so. Here, let's get a little bit of our lighter color over here. That's just as full tone mixed with a little bit of the brilliant yellow pale. Nothing super complicated there. Might let a smidge of my Terra Rosa, aka French Indian Red, because we're trying something a little different here these last couple of weeks. I mean, love me my Terra Rosa. I really do love it. However, we're trying to find some colors that maybe other people can find where they're at. They don't mind these per se, just don't like them coming with scenic stuff molded onto the miniature. Even Fell, isn't that true? We want to do our own basing. We want our own basing. Let's see, Luminous just backed for 3 liters of Vulcan resin. Now, luminescent, well, obviously I'm not printing as much as you are. So how long do you expect that 3 liters to last? Or is it one of those things where, well, yeah, it was nice while it lasted. Because when I got things cranking out here, those bottles of resin, they get used up. They get used up pretty quickly. Here, why don't we lighten this up just a little bit more? I don't know. Also, it's kind of being done in a dry brush fashion. And seriously, this is a dry brush over wet oil paints. Let's see. Oh, and there's a little link by Wicked Elf and Art of Michael. It says one of my big projects is painting the Bloodborne minis for the board game, rebasing all of them in the process. Now, I wonder, was that the one that came out right around the time of Song of Ice and Fire, or right after Song of Ice and Fire? Something tells me it's the cool mini game that came out right after Song of Ice and Fire. I think so. Now I do have Rising Sun and what the heck is the other one? Blood Rage. I have those two. I was gonna try and do some painting videos on those guys. Here, let's pop some of the lighter color just on here a little bit. I don't want too much. It's just there was not enough difference between this raised surface and some of these other surfaces. We'll do that here. Again, just a very light dry brushing on it there. All right, so is this year from Cool Mini? Okay, I thought it had to be a Cool Mini thing. I wonder if that's the one that maybe was delayed. Maybe that's what it was. I know there was that other one that came out right after Song of, well, maybe not right after, but it was more of a 2019 slash, or maybe, no, that's, you know what? Scratch everything. I just was shown pictures of it way early. That's right. Never mind. I was just thinking that the Kickstarter happened when the pictures were shown to me. It's like, nope, that's right. That Kickstarter happened a while afterwards. So, all right, that makes a little more sense now. Say luminous at the size you tend to print. Ah, yeah, as big as I can fit on that build plate. Yeah, Laminus, it would be fun to get to print out more large scale things. And not just 75 mil, but 120-ish. I know we were talking about that earlier in the stream here. I think Valfera was printing some figs at that size. Well, I know, not think, I know he has been. Oh, let's lighten this up too. Let's do that. And that essentially faux Terra Rosa is reasonably opaque. I mean, it's pretty darn opaque. So you mix a little bit of the brilliant yellow pale with it. Now it's going to be a lighter opaque color. Yeah, I was going to say, Laminess, boy, there are times where you are really, really, really pushing, well, I am anyway, pushing the limits of that build plate, really pushing it. Headed to the danger zone. I kind of like the idea of having a little bit of the Terra Rosa lighter color in here. It's essentially like a skin color. Get some more of our lights into here. Also on his leg there. And Arthur Michael might be splurging on a larger printer. And I guess now, I know we've talked about it in past streams. What is it? The Mighty, that's the frozen large format, right? I guess right now, what would you say is the champion printer as far as the larger scale stuff goes? Because I've had people, they'll say, I like this one. I don't know what does the industry kind of as a whole tend to say, which one of those is usually recommended the most. Laminessa, I'm just thinking of Kathy's one of Kathy's podcast partners there. He just got himself a printer where the build plate is probably four of these, like in a square. I mean, it's just a massive, gigantic things. Let's see, the Mono X or Mono 10 from Anycubic, the Anycubic Frozen seem to get very similar reviews. Yeah, I wish I had the chance to set up that Frozen, but I don't know. I'm gonna maybe wait until I can get a battery backup for that thing. Because if the Elegoo Mars gets toasted or something like that, that's just an old dime a dozen printer now. The Frozen, I wouldn't want that to get zonked in some kind of weird power surge type thing. Let's see. So Tukale, you got that the Mono 10 and a more. That's that is an interesting. What is that? First world problems. That's the phrase that suddenly comes to mind. It's like, yeah, I don't necessarily need all that space. I know well, of course, now sometimes we're frantically rotating files just so that we can get that many more things on a build plate. We're just being greedy. But there's figures that I genuinely would like to print out, and they're just too darn big for that build plate, unfortunately. Or at least to print safely, or maybe they're too tall or whatever. Now, of course, if I knew more about Mesh Mixer or, gosh, why do I always keep forgetting the name of the other one? Blender. I guess if I knew more about those, I could cut files into smaller things and just do my own supports on them. All right, so we're starting to get a little more value there on these raised parts of his tail. Not too much, not too much. We're just trying to keep that nice and subtle if we can. TJ is back. How you doing? So Wedge, right now it's just kind of one of your older Elegoo Mars. I think it's, what is it, an Elegoo Mars Pro or something like that. I don't even think it's a 2. I think it's just an Elegoo Mars. Because when I got it, when it was sent to me in the beginning of 2020, it was already considered kind of, I don't want to say old, but it had been around. It was not exactly new, even in early 2020 when it was sent my way. So TJ, I hope that you're having a good Friday there. So Wedge, like right now, again, I've got that Sonic Mini 4K. It's out of the box at least, but I just want to get a little bit of extra assurance with that and maybe have a battery backup on that thing. Because sometimes there are weird power surges that happen here. And that thing obviously is going to be on for many hours at a time. And I just wouldn't want something weird happening to that. The other stuff, like, well, the laptops and whatever, I can unplug those and they can run if I feel like there's going to be any kind of a power surge thing going on. TJ's doing a little bit of lunchtime Saturday stuff, so I think I was right. Yeah, I think I said that it was getting to be like 12:15-ish, maybe almost 1:15-ish. What time is it here? It's 11:15 here. So Wicked Elf, I wonder, I guess maybe your build plate is probably a little bit bigger. Now, does yours have a mono screen, being a Mars Pro 2, Wicked Elf? I can never remember which ones have the mono screen. Obviously, things that say mono in the name is gonna give that away, but so the resin starter, the resin Kickstarter, the stuff is being made here in Chicago. I wonder if that's probably in the far western suburbs or something like that, or far northwestern suburbs. That's pretty much where Badger is located. And we're talking far suburbs. Holy smokes. It's practically Canada. I think it took, and this is in the middle of the day with less traffic. It still took us an hour and a half, I think, to get to the Badger factory or something like that. It was a long time. Grim Nation Hobbies, how are you doing? It is kind of neat that you have this first time chat thing now. I'm kind of liking that. I'm gonna see if I can maybe back out. Yeah, I can. There we go. Now you can see him a little bit better. So Grim Nation, how are you doing? Nice to see you here. This is well, we're back to our regular painting stream after our terrain interlude that we do on Thursdays. We'll be streaming again tomorrow. It will be more painting. It's most likely going to be a bunch of different Lord of the Rings thing. We have to keep going, keep pace on that. I know for sure I want to paint at least one of those, another one of the Diwali trolls. So here he is. So we'll be painting one of these guys tomorrow, and he's going to be joining his buddy, another one of the Diwali trolls right there. So we'll be painting him up like we painted some of our other Moria stuff. We have an ever-expanding Moria army, of course. So it is a mono screen. Yeah, I keep waiting for the screen on mine, something to happen to it, of course. Nothing's happened yet. Now, maybe we just haven't had it on for as long as some people have theirs on. Let me see. All right, so Grim Nation, thank you so much for signing up to the Patreon page. What I'm going to do is obviously after I'm done here, I'll be sending you a message with all the links. But now I'm going to look here real quick. Oh, no, you already got the link. Okay, never mind, Grim Nation. You got that link there. And the color theory videos, Actually, Grim Nation, and I could maybe just find the link for you. This one might be kind of handy because we do a now you I think you did the Army Painter pledge, right? We actually do some color charts with this, and then we paint the miniature, and it's also kind of a limited palette. So if you can't find this one, this is basically painting it's painting white and textured cloth, I think is the name of that one. But if you can't find the link, I'll try and find that one for you. Nah, Ebenfell, but basing, right? Basing is basing. We love our basing. Nothing wrong with some basing. I know painting is always kind of fun too. So yeah, I wonder. I guess maybe because my settings are so darn cautious, like we say all the time. Maybe that's prolonged its lifespan. Is it like the Ring? It's given that printer unnaturally long life, or that screen anyway. So when I pour the newly found black smoky black resin in there, is it gonna say precious like Gollum does? Because if it does, it would be sort of creepy, I have to say. So yeah, Grim Nation, that might not be a bad one because it's going to combine the use of one of those color chart things like what you just saw, and then going ahead and painting the figures straight away. There's also some of the Dark Sword videos. I think there's at least one or two where we painted a little color chart thing like that and then went ahead and painted the miniature. So I think those might not be too bad for you. Something tells me those could be helpful. Now we got to give them some kind of eyes here, and I think we're gonna go not quite the super realistic. We're gonna go more with the let's go with the greenish eyes because that'll tie in some of his green down here. So let's just do something like that. Where's our yellow and green together here? This is why I'm never buying something like cadmium green again because it's so darn easy just to make it yourself. Let's see if we can get this eye, and I'm just gonna look and see how big is that. And we can always go back in there and take some of that away. Here, let's get this other one now. Taxi for Baggins, how you doing? So you're not actually Grim Nation. Well, that's okay because that's one of the general techniques. So yeah, you're still good. That's why I thought of it. So yeah, that Gandalf one right there, that might not be a bad one for you. Because it goes into some other things too, but again, it's we do a whole little color chart thing, and again, I don't think I'll be able to find it at all. I mean, maybe I could. Here, let me see if I can maybe, wait. No, that's not the one. But we did something like this, right? Where we actually painted a whole bunch of different things and then did some splits with the white. So this is a general techniques one here. And if you can't find it, I'll try and send me a message if you can't, and then I'll just shoot you the link, and hopefully that is helpful. Thanks, TJ. Oh, thanks, TJ, for reminding me. We'll do a quick little film noir on this here, actually. Or maybe not. Because the Amish Stig has just rated Amish Stig. Hey, nice to see ya. How the heck did your stream go? That's very cool. That wasn't your first official stream, was it? There's Bookend Kitties, of course. So Amish Stig, how's it going? So here's our this is what we got going on here. We got our Comoto dragon. We just kind of call him that, and another one of our little lizard friends right here. Lizard riding a lizard. What could go wrong? So Bookend Kitties, I hope that you're doing well too. And if everyone could please give Amish Stig a follow. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much, Amastig, for the raid. How did that stream go? But that wasn't your first official stream, was it? Okay, that is just dark enough. All right, that's good. Here, let's turn him around. Let's hit this side too. If we there we go. That's what I'm looking to do. Might even throw a little bit of that right there. Okay. I've been streaming for about 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, I'm with Stig. I haven't seen anybody's streams. I have not seen a single stream in about 2 or 3 weeks, I think. So here, take a look at the golds there. Boom. Still looks like metal, right? Even though all the color is gone, because we still have that extra, we have the value contrast there. We got the reflected light there. Now, Bookend Kitties just says that existing is enough. And Bookend Kitties looks like they have to go and do some refreshing there. All right, yeah, Grim Nation. There might be some other ones that could be helpful as well. I'll see if there's anything in particular that I say, oh, you know what, maybe this one could really be extra helpful. So if I can think of something like that, I will try and send you a link to that. Okay, I'm looking for my blending brush. There you are. Let's see, stream was good. I want to see either number 7 or number 9. Haven't been at that long. Been doing some old Reaper figures and really liking how it's coming. So I'm a Stig. Well, you know the usual drill. If you got any Instagram pictures of that and you want to pop links into the chat, that would be fantastic. And of course, everybody, please give Almastig a follow so that Almastig has lots and lots of distraction and company while they're trying to paint. Almastig, I think OBS, well, Twitch in general, and I think maybe OBS more specifically, this week has been extra weird. I know it's zonked on Kathy a couple of times yesterday. It zonked on me early in the stream yesterday. It came right back, but I think and I know there's something going on with Twitch. It's Kathy's podcast crew. They found out something. I don't know what it is with Twitch, but it's definitely being twitchy, to say the least. Yeah, Arta Michael, I think that's always the first place that people are looking, right? And of course, these two machines, Kathy's and mine, well, they had just been updated. Now we do restart the stuff. You know, like we don't we restart Streamlabs a couple of times before we even think about using it. But I think that doesn't necessarily matter. I think it's just Streamlabs and Twitch not being able to handle whatever it was in the new updates, like you were saying. Let's see. Patreon is a great thing, but unfortunately isn't great for things like searching for the content of a channel. Yeah, it's some of the 3D printing ones are really, really, really tough. Now, what I sometimes do, Grim Nation, is I'll send a message to folks like I'm probably going to be doing this now that Series 25 is done. I was going to send a message to everybody on the Army Painter pledge level to just say, look, here's all of the Army Painter links in one place, because if they've been at it for 2 years or something like that, you know, they would have to kind of do a little bit of digging, maybe to find some older episodes. So probably sometime next week I was going to do something like that. Let's see, I got hit by that Wednesday. I was live for 45 minutes. And then after Twitch insisted I was live for another 3 hours afterwards. Holy smokes. Yeah, I'm a Stig. It zonked the stream last night, sadly, about what, 40 minutes in, something like that. And there was no warning. There was no, oh, some dropped frames. I was looking at my bit rate. Everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, bam, stream gone. But wow, it's like yours was the stream that wouldn't die. It was like an undead stream. Yeah, on my stick, that's crazy. That is very much like an undead stream. It was dead, but it wasn't dead. You couldn't kill it, even though you tried. I don't know if I really like the idea of undead streams. They should stay dead. The undead should stay dead, right? Here, let me, speaking of bitrate, I'm just going to look at mine over here just to make sure that nothing funky is going on. Yeah, it was just fine. The bitrate was even better than it is right now. And then all of a sudden, bam, there went the stream. It was gone. Now here we need to do a little bit of metal reflecting on metal. The infinity mirror thing that we talk about sometimes. Here, where's our, there it is. Blending some of that. And then some of that. And I'll see if I can grab this. It looks like I can. So see how the metal is reflecting on itself? Yeah, right there. You can kind of see the side is reflecting on the bottom there. That's the kind of thing that I was just trying to do right over here. Is get that bit of metal reflecting onto metal. There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna stig. What was the Reaper figure? Was it one of the old, like really old, kind of Julie Guthrie, or no? What one am I? Not Julie Guthrie. Well, she's also been doing stuff with them forever too. But Sandra Garrity. That's who I was thinking of. Because a lot of our very first Reaper figures were Sandra Garrity figures back in the day. Back in the early 2000s, 2003, 2002. A lot of the old Reaper figures. Alright, now I'm going to see if I can't give him some kind of pupils on this guy. Let's see if we can do that here. Looks like you could see that. I was thinking about zooming in a little bit, but I think we'll just leave it where we've got it here. Alright, got him with one eye there. Let's see what we can do on this side now. We'll darken that down. And there's, we'll need to make it a little bit darker there. There we go. That is what we wanted. Now we're going to go back to our asphaltum. And maybe pick out a couple of scales here that are darker. Sort of like what we did with our Lizardman. Almost doing, I don't want to say an outline of the scale. There we go. That was more of a big old kind of blob of paint there. Let's zoom back in on this. You might be able to get a chance to see that a little better. There we go. And the paint is a little bit thinner here. We have used some actual thinner on this. I don't want people to get the idea that it's some kind of horrible thing to be using the thinner. It's not. It's just they're thinking of it like acrylic paint, which means they're using way too much of it. So you can use the thinner, just don't use quite so much of it. Because that is something I see happen all the time. And when people ask me about things, I'm just like, yep, I can imagine just how much thinner they must be using. I was reminded of that fact when I was working on that Dauntless Dye Bomber with acrylics, because there's times where you just have to throw some some liquid onto that brush to get it to actually flow somewhere. Let's see, Almastig is a current, what is this? The Gossamer air source, 2500s. That's relatively early there. I think we've got a couple of 900s and 800s. Not too many of those. But wow, we always did love the Werner clock stuff. Of course, I still have a bunch of freebooter, man. That's what I think he still is actually doing. Yeah, he's still doing freebooter stuff. I can't remember the last Reaper sculpt he might have done. That was many years ago, I'm sure. Probably back in just the early 2000s when he, I think that's when he started freebooter, was in the early 2000s. I can remember how popular his stuff was on Cool Mini or Not, that's for sure. All right, so I think we've got a little more shading on those chompers. I'm going to try and get some of this orangey red here on the other side, maybe. Yeah, and also a little lighter too, just because. All right. Some on here. Let's see what we're going to do on this side of his jaw. Going to get some of that lighter coat, mostly because we kept hitting that when we were doing his teeth. When we're doing those chompers. This has a little bit more of the, and this is our diet cadmium here. It's not full-on regular cadmium. I'm not worried about cadmium colors or anything like that.
Hello, little hobbit.
Because I'm not
Spark
planning on
my
eating them.
gun.
I'm not planning on eating those, but we also have Grim Nation Hobbies. Oh, geez, thanks for the follow. That is appreciated. Hello, little hobbits. Oh, Spark my ganja. It's the Great Beast of Golgoroth. It's like, no, not Great Beast of Golgoroth. That's his new buddy, Snuffles, saddest creature in all of Middle-earth, but maybe not so sad because he has a dragon friend. It's like, are you my friend? It's like, yeah, sure, fine. See, look, he's my new best friend. Wow, that's as happy as we've seen Snuffles. I don't know, have we ever seen Snuffles that happy? Wow. So, yep, Grim Nation. Now the times can vary by a half an hour or an hour, just whatever thing happens. I'm also working around my wife's streaming schedule too, but the typical streaming schedule is Monday, 6:30 or 7 Central Time. Friday, same thing, 6:30 to 7 Central Time, somewhere in that range. The Thursday night terrain stream, that's going to be a much later start. That starts about 11:35 or so Central Time. And then the Saturday challenge, that's our longest stream. That's typically somewhere between 8 to 10 or 11 hours long. As much as I would love to start that at about 3 in the afternoon, it starts more about 4:15, 4:30 these days. So hopefully that is when we will be starting tomorrow. Again, if there's something weird going on, I can't always start at the time I would like to. We've had to delay a couple of our streams for an hour or half an hour or whatever this week, just because of circumstances. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell there. There are times where we do some special streams. Obviously, Virtual Reaper Expo, we did some special streams for that. Sometimes special streams that are part of virtual conventions. Oh, and I guess I'm going to be part of the Aces of Painting thing again for virtual. Well, I guess there's a virtual element of Gen Con. Well, there's not much happening with Gen Con in person, so I guess it is going to be a virtual thing. But we'll be doing the Zoom call again, and I have no idea what I'm painting or what any of us are. I know last year we did the oh, what the heck was the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff. Tukale Gen Con is happening, but every major vendor and let's just say a lot of stuff ain't going to be there. Gen Con might just be an empty dealer's hall. That might be Gen Con. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just it's kind of a they really should have just waited like Adepticon did. Just say, look, let's just wait to 2022. We don't have to do any kind of crazy weird stuff, and people will actually be willing to come because there's travel things that are still in place for vendors or whatever that would want to be there who now cannot be there. Well, again, Grim Nation hobby, just like we were talking about, being rough on yourself. We're always our own worst critics, right? Always our own worst critic. Just sometimes you just have to say, well, if I can at least do this much, that's a plus, right? And then maybe the next time around you try and do a little bit more. And also, if everyone could please give Armored Wolf a look-see on his Etsy page. We need to support Armored Wolf. All those folks that have been really working very hard to get through the last year and a half here of craziness, who can't just stream their stuff on Twitch like I can. So if you could please go check out Armored Wolf on Etsy, and also too the fabulous, amazing grass and flower tufts, snow effects, all kinds of wonderful things that Armored Wolf has been working on. Far higher quality than the usual kind of flower and grass tufts that are mostly just masses of foam with a little bit of static grass, very roughly glued together. So yes, Armored Wolf has been working on getting the packaging ready for all that stuff. So don't be surprised when you start seeing some really fun, probably packaging that's going to be green, I would say. Hey, Bitsron, how you doing? Arta Michael, actually, there's a whole bunch of big boys that they declared not going. Actually, even Badger Airbrush, they are not on that list either. Basically, well, we won't get into it. We'll just leave that subject alone. Oh yeah, that Grim Nation. You just don't want to be too hard on yourself. There's there's a little work in progress there from Amish Stig. So if everybody could also please check out Amish Stig and what they have posted, that would be great. So Bitrot working on a couple of cargo containers. Now what I'm going to also do, you know what? I will do that. What the heck? I want to take some of our charred animal bones, aka Van Dyke Brown. Seriously, that's what it's made out of. Charred animal bones. I can show you the label. That's what it says. But here we're going to try and break that up into some smaller shapes, I think. Hey, Nixel. Well, fortunately, there's the really nice texture on here that's letting me do the dark over light. I don't get to do that very often, like almost never. It's funny, there's no way I could ever have done it to any of these Lizzies right here. So, well, there you go. There's our two pals riding together, right? Just walking around, doing their things. So, Nixel, did you guys hang out in the... Oh, that's right. Tonight was Pyro Club. That's right. I forgot all about tonight was Pyro Club. I was thinking it was Monday. Of course, you know me. Naturally, it's Monday. That's me just forgetting everything. So now again, the thing that we haven't had a chance to do is get some primer on this element, which goes right there. But again, we're just going to have to wait on that. Let's see, so doing the Harlan's Heroes thing, and they didn't have any cliffhangers after the last one, did they? Because I don't think I got to see the last Harlan's Heroes. I know there was one that got canceled because you had the reaction to the vax going on, but I don't know if I got to see this last Sunday. No, I don't think I did. That's right, because we were doing those here too. And Nick, so I just don't get to really watch any streams at all. I wish I could. It would be really fun. I can maybe catch some while I'm exercising, like maybe some Astelas or Teals or Draxes. I can catch some of those. But other than that, not so much. All right, we've gotten some really fun little bit of reds and yellows. Let's see what happens. Now, obviously, we've been doing the film noir, focusing on the armor. How's about we do a little film noir and just really look at look at the reds on the underside here. And we're just going to go like so. Poof. Still see all the shade. Actually, the shading on the stripe shows up even a little bit more as far as just light and dark. But then when we bring back that color intensity, now you start to see where a little more orange here. It fades out, not quite so orange there. A little bit of orange right there. Why? Because where color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere, right? We put the green on here because the ground, right, reflecting onto the armor, but then I got this green guy sitting on top of him, which also is going to be reflecting some green from the ground. Because remember, there's more foliage that's going to be added to this too. I always like things with swords because they make really handy pointing tools. Look at this. Look at what a handy pointing tool that is. So Vixel, she had that first day was not a super pleasant reaction. For me, there was 0 either time. As in like absolutely none whatsoever. Now I did take precautions, right? Lots of protein, ice on the site, all that kind of stuff. And that seemed to really do the trick because there was none whatsoever. So plums, a couple of things with the pre-glaze. It's gonna matter what primer you're using, mostly because we strongly recommend using the Steiner Res primer. Well, you can brush it on. I just brushed the primer on here. I just brushed the primer onto this guy too, and actually I think I just used this primer right here. Yeah, just brushed it on. That is always a big deal because some primers are very slippery and that causes the paint to just kind of fall off like that. Let's see. It works for me. Just how my mind works. If I praise myself, I start to get lazy. I also run a microblog where I post what I do every day in advance. Okay. So yeah. All right. There you go. All right. So, okay, that's good. Plum. Now, it also depends what color that you're using. And now, plums, are you saying that as you wipe it away, the stuff is not sticking? Because again, only a few colors are staining, right? Only things like Egyptian violet, phthalo colors, alizarin, those type of colors. So like a lot of these earth tones here, well, those all just wiped away, except maybe for Terra Rosa, which is a semi-staining color. When it came to this guy here, the phthalo green, well, that's a staining color. The indigo, also a staining color. The Indian yellow, another staining color right there. So that is another thing. If that's what you're, maybe that is what you're emphasizing right there, is the fact that you were wiping it away and it all came away. Yeah, Nick, so it was kind of weird that I almost, what was really strange is that I almost felt better afterwards than I had the previous 2 days. I had more energy. Uh, I was doing my usual exercising that night. I was not expecting that. Now, of course, everybody's reaction is different, and certain vaxes tend to have more unfortunate reactions than others. I was really glad because I had to film a video. In fact, I think this was the no, I didn't film one that night. I was putting stuff together that night. It was the next night that I filmed that video. That's right. Oh, yeah, Plum's the white primer that I never use the white primer. First of all, it tends to be the glossiest of the primers. And also too, yeah, that's going to be a little bit too intense. It's going to kind of overpower your pre-glaze. We're just throwing a little bit of our red in there because I saw it on here and I thought I'd include a little more on here. So yeah, I would suggest ditching the white primer and maybe mixing it with gray or something like that, or maybe even mixing it with a kind of maybe a greenish or something that's more of a tan type of a primer. I don't know what some of the colors are in the one-shot form. All right, Almastig, thanks again for the raid. We have a fun walk with the hound there. And Plums, now also too, which paint brand are you using? And I guess also too, it doesn't really depend how long you're leaving indigo on there for, but who knows? All right, that's better. So yeah, the stuff like the Windsor Newton indigo, the Gamlin stuff, obviously Williamsburg for sure, those are going to be more rock solid. And look, we're even going to get a little bit, look at that, a little bit of a red color on that side too, again, reflecting some of that here. Yeah, so plums, we use that here, and that is definitely something that you might want to look at is how long have you left it on there. Also, the other thing too, plums, if you have too much of the thinner on there, I use less and less and less thinner now. It's kind of funny how little, I mean, literally, this is, that's 3 days worth of thinner right there. And the thing was mostly empty when I started 3 days ago, and that includes the pre-glaze on this big old guy and that other lizard right there. So I think that might be another thing too, is a little bit too much of the thinner. I only say that because I just noticed myself using less and less and less, even in the pre-glaze part of it. So that could be a little something for you there too. You know what? The legs are going to be over this. We need, holy smokes. Well, it's not going to be super obvious, but we need to get some green on here. What the heck am I doing? His legs are going to be sitting right on top of this thing. How in the world is, if this is metal here, how is that not reflecting some of the green from his legs right there? So yeah, we're gonna change this color a little bit here to something a little bit more greenish. Yeah. I mean, is it green green? No. Pretty much just looks like a gray at this point. Like maybe a greenish gray, but that's all I'm looking for. That's all it's got to be. Back to my indigo. Speaking of indigo here, and it is the Winsor Newton indigo. We're just gonna a little bit of dark there. And another little dark striation there. And what's going on with this bit right over here? That needs to be solidified a little bit more, and I think we're going to take some of our Van Dyke brown. There was just a little part of that the pre-glaze didn't quite reach. How's about a little bit of our black spinel and Egyptian violet together? Holy smokes, that's going to be a very rich, dark color right there. Oh, yes, it is. Wow. So the Egyptian violet gives that black spinel at least some hint of a color. Black spinel darkens down the Egyptian violet a little bit. Yeah, plums, it's just one of the things that I realized I need to start asking right away is just how much thinner might be getting used. As I become aware of just how much less of it that I'm using myself, and I wasn't using a lot of it to start with. And the other thing that reminded me of it was working on that on the Dauntless airplane over last weekend was, oh my gosh, this is why people are using so much thinner when it comes to oils, because they're used to it when it comes to acrylics, right? Tons and tons of liquid just to keep that stuff flowing. Now here, I intentionally used more liquid there because I wanted it to sink down into these crevices, or almost like a more of a pin line wash kind of a thing. There, that's good enough. Let's see. So a Grim Nation, the skin texture is definitely part of the sculpt there. We've had to kind of modify it in a few ways here just to try and maybe carry the pattern, or like over here where we had to destroy it because there was a giant gap right there. So here we're just kind of doing a little bit of editing just to try and mind the gap, so to speak. Geeky Taniki, how are you doing? Boy, it's been a little while. Geeky Taniki, how the heck have you been? Hope that your week wasn't too difficult, and maybe that you're gonna have yourself a real nice weekend coming up here. So there, we're just kind of recreating the texture because, again, we had to sort of nuke that to be able to try and hide the gap that's there. So yeah, Geeky Taniki, we've been really adding a lot of our terrain to our Rohan board. We did those last night, the tower and the windmill. Also archery range, and we did the wonderful little blacksmith shop there. Where's my scene? There's my scene. I'm glad that you had some nice weather and able to do some exterior work there out in the yard. Hopefully not too many buzzing insects or anything like that. Again, over here we're going to have that the back of this thing right here. So yeah, the Geeky Taniki, we're closing in on the end of our Rohan stuff. There's some other smaller pieces that I want to make, some more ruined houses, just in case the scenario kind of calls for it or whatever. But next week we will be making some of our either probably Easterling terrain to start with. Then we also have some Harad terrain that we're going to be making too. Oh, thanks, Geeky Taniki. Here's his passenger right there. So this is the guy that'll be riding our Comoto dragon, as we're just kind of jokingly referring to him. And it's from Mierce Miniatures. Kind of goes along with, gosh, we painted at least 24 of these guys now between the Lizzies and our wee little skinks right here. And actually, after we're done here, I got 4 more that I have to finish off. All right, here I might just actually get a couple of lighter tones. We've been adding an awful lot of darks. I'm gonna do something that's a little lighter here, maybe. See what happens. Just a little highlight on this part of the leather. One more up there. Think we're pretty good over here. Not too much on the leathers there.